Good afternoon and welcome to Today on Bay TV. We are live in Swansea on Monday the 15th of May 2017. I'm Heavy Derby Cook, this is Beynon Morgan. With us today are Chris Beynon and Spencer Feeney.
And Chris, I think you've had a good weekend.
A busy weekend, a long drive.
Now, where were you on Saturday?
Up to Sunderland to see the Swans secure Premier League safety. So can't complain. Long drive, but completely worth it.
I almost wished I was there. The atmosphere was cracking, wasn't it?
It was incredible. It seemed like a home game. I've never heard such volume from a set of away fans before. It must have seemed on the pitch like the Liberty Stadium.
I've told Spencer that the people there are very much like our own people here in Swansea, so that would have added to the feeling.
The Sunderland fans, I think football fans are the same everywhere, aren't they? You know, they're a type. You know,
I think they were probably a little bit quieter just because they were already down. So they'd not that they had nothing to play for, but yeah, their fate was already sealed. They had nothing to gain from winning there. So.
And just for everyone that doesn't know, Chris, if you tell us how Swansea has such a good travelling support on Saturday.
So they took 3,000 fans there, mainly down to the players deciding that they were going to pay for tickets. I think the idea came from Leon Britton. We were saying earlier, that they paid for all the tickets. They also gave the players vouchers for food and drinks, and I think that went some way to getting all the fans there.
It's got to have helped, isn't it? It's a long way. It would have been an expensive day, so that's helped. And I think Leon Britton's contribution, that coming up with the idea, I think is crucial. I mean, I fully accept that the appointment of Paul Clement as manager belatedly at Swansea was the fundamental point at which survival became a possibility. But I don't think we should underestimate the role that Leon Britton played. Not just in that idea, but he gave the players the DVD of Jack to a King to look at before the Stoke game for them to get an idea. He's the last player who played against Hull in 2002, the game that kept Swansea in the league. He's the last Serbian player still in the team. So I think he's fundamental. And on my Twitter account last night, I suggested that the Swansea Council should confer the Freedom of the City on Leon as a mark of respect. And the council has come back this morning to me and said they think it's a good idea.
So you heard it here first.
So what I'm doing now is sort of launching a campaign to say, let's get Leon the Freedom of the City. And I'm asking all Swans fans to get behind the idea.
Oh, I'm sure they will, judging by the way they sounded on the radio.
I mean, the interesting thing with Leon Britton is he has such a good connection with the city that when he first came to us, the city took to him so much that we paid his wages for a little bit as fans.
Yes.
Just to get him to come back to us. I think it was from West Ham. He'd gone back to him, we brought him back down, we even paid his wages. That's how much Swans has a connection with Leon Britton.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I think he, like Alan Curtis before him, he is heart and soul of this club.
Definitely. And his man management on the pitch is second to none, isn't it? Let's go back to Saturday. Should we have a look at the clip of the final whistle when the Swans realised they're a step closer to safety?
Let's do it.
Here it is. Wow. They almost knew. Obviously, Sunday it all happened with Crystal Palace result. Great result.
Yeah, I don't know where I celebrated more. It's that final whistle there, or seeing the fourth goal for Crystal Palace go in. It was once we won at Sunderland, we knew that it was pretty much there. Crystal Palace had to win to stay up because they were still in danger of going down. So I think once we secured that win up there, we thought, yeah, we've pretty much got this by here.
First time we've had every football fan in Swansea rooting for Sam Allardyce was on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
What did you do with your voucher? Did you have pie and chips? Or?
No, I couldn't eat up there. It was
really
so nerve-wracking being up there that I couldn't eat. I got to the ground, you couldn't eat until that 90 minutes had passed, and we knew that we were pretty much safe. That's when I started eating and thinking about,
I was so nervous on Saturday, I couldn't listen to the radio commentary. I sat in the garden for the entire game, and my wife had to come out and tell me when the Swans scored.
That's
and I refused to come into the house until the final whistle had gone.
It means so much to the city, doesn't it? And I think it's such a relief for everyone.
And it means so much to Swans fans. I mean, I went to my first game at Vetchfield in 1960. That's 50 odd years ago. It means so much to Swansea fans.
I remember the first time around when John Toshak was brought in and he re-innovated everything.
I mean, there's a whole generation of people who weren't around at that point. People of my generation never knew that Toshak generation, so we started following them. Me and my friends, I think my first game was a loss to, I think it was Macclesfield or Boston, and we lost it like 3-0. It was a horrendous game. So we've now got a generation of people who've seen us come from pretty much the bottom tier all the way to the top. And what was interesting is when we were in the bottom tier, Hull had the chance to put us out of the Football League and they didn't.
Yes,
And now on Saturday, we've managed to put Hull out of the Premier League sort of 10, 15 years later.
Oh, it's extraordinary, isn't it, how things come around.
Let's talk about moving forward. Obviously, the Swans have got pre-season in America. It's one of the first major transfer windows for the American owners to actually show their worth and show how much Swans mean to them. What do you think is going to happen? Big transfers in and out?
Inevitably, there'll be transfers in and out. How big, who knows? But I think this is the moment where the Owners Club America project goes back on track. I'm sure they bought this club, the idea to turn Swansea City into America's club. I think Landon Donovan, US football legend, is involved with them. And I expect to see that moving forward. The Bob Bradley appointment was a disastrous error as part of that project. They'll have learned from that, I'm sure. And we'll see moving forward what's going to happen. It's the tour, the pre-season tour is in the States, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that there's probably not many American players that you could pick from who probably are Premier League quality. So it'd be interesting to see whether there's signings based on nationality or signings based on their actual Premier League proven quality. And I think that'll be the underlying thing, is if they look at it as we need to survive and we aren't going to survive unless we buy some decent players, or whether it's going to be the marketing exercise of let's get some American players. And
I'd be surprised if it was the latter, but I think the Bradley experience must have taught them you can't do it like that. Yes.
Yeah.
It was also a big weekend for a friend of the show, Matt Edwards. He was on Britain's Got Talent. Obviously, he did Swansea Panto this year. He was on the show multiple times, and we went to the theatre to meet him. He actually got the golden buzzer from Anton Deck. Should we have a little look at the clip again?
And how old are you? 34, did you say?
34.
Okay, I'm surprised you haven't had a break yet, Matthew, because you're really likeable and nuts. You've just got something about you. It's your energy. This is what we look for on these shows, people who've got star quality. I've just got a feeling about you.
He's too good. Too good? Yeah. Ready?
Oh, wow. That's great. Because he was wonderful when he was in here with us, wasn't he? A bundle of energy and...
He was. I think he described himself as a man full of E-numbers. And I think we said, where'd you get your energy from? And he said something along the lines of, a lot of blue Smarties. I think that's what he said.
So for anyone that doesn't know, by Anton Deck hitting the goal buzzer, jumps Matt straight to the live semi-finals and obviously gives him a great platform to kind of, you know, hopefully have a bigger and better career than he already has.
And he deserves it. Lovely guy as well.
It'd be fantastic if we could say that we had the Britain's Got Talent finalist on our sofa and interviewed him long before he got there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Britain's Got Talent and Leon Britain's Got Talent. It's been a good weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Obviously, there's more sports to talk about, Chris.
There is.
Team Swansea.
Yes, Team Swansea this weekend. They had the play-off. They were playing against Cwm Wanderers from the Neath League. Basically, from the amateur leagues in South Wales, you have a team that has the option to go pro, as they call it, and go into the Welsh League. They managed to beat Cwm Wanderers 6-0 on Saturday. So quite an achievement. Yeah, especially for Swansea Union. I think they're trying to emulate what Cardiff Met are doing. Cardiff Met are really doing well in the Welsh leagues now and on the verge of being in Europe. So, yeah, it's a big weekend for Swansea Sport.
I think that's the thing I think people forget, that obviously the Swans are Swansea's football team, but there's so much going on in the lower leagues. Obviously, you play in the amateur leagues, don't you?
Yes, yeah, Neath amateur leagues, yeah, which is where Cwm Wanderers came from, funnily enough. And it's interesting to see that when we played them, they were one of the top teams around, and then they still lost 6-0 to Team Swansea. So I think that gives you an idea of the quality that a university team can produce, you know?
But interesting, I've always thought that Swansea is a football town, not a rugby town. There's this cliche that Wales is nothing but rugby, But in this area,
Nothing
I think
Swansea.
football has always been the #1 sport.
What a great morale booster for everyone on a Monday
Exactly.
morning.
Yeah, it makes everybody happy, doesn't it?
And everyone can go to that last game of the season against West Brom, knowing they're safe.
Party
Keep
mode.
that voucher, Chris.
And this is going to be a party. After the break, we're going to be looking at today's papers with Liz Cairns, and Spencer Feeney will be staying with us.
See you then.
Welcome back to Today on Bay TV. I'm Avery Darby Cook. This is Gaynor Morgan. Liz Cairns has joined us and Spencer Feeney is still with us.
Have a look at the papers, I think, Liz.
Yeah, so much has been happening over the weekend. Firstly, I'm going to go through to the Daily Mail. Theresa May, which has now been called the revolution in the workplace, she is stating that she's going to be putting new rights, whereas if relatives need the care, the family are allowed to take a sabbatical year off. It's going to be unpaid, which I was looking at. I was thinking, we were speaking about this. While I was looking at it, and I was thinking...
Who can afford that?
Well, this is it. Something needs to be put in place automatically.
That's the key thing. I mean, doing this is a way to try to reduce the state's involvement in social care, isn't it? But it's unpaid. It can take 13 to 52 weeks off unpaid. Very few people are going to be able to do that.
And it's not just that. It's likely to be people in their 40s and 50s, and you're scared enough then about falling off the ladder or being eased
Well, your
off
job
the
is,
ladder.
under this scheme, your job is guaranteed. You can come back, your job is guaranteed at your salary.
We all know it doesn't always work
It
out.
has to be.
But I think the key is who can take off up to a year without being paid. It's very difficult. So
That
good
was
headline,
my thing
good
when
headline,
I read it.
but
yeah.
not convinced.
No, exactly. Sounds good, but then reality, who can afford it?
And also people live so far away from their parents and all the rest of it now. I mean, is it going to be... Logistically, would it work?
Yeah. And also, in a way, by putting this in force, is it putting pressure on people where they think, well, I have to now because that's in force. I have to take that time off, look after my family. But then they're going into trouble themselves. They have mortgages.
There is a developing debate, isn't there, about how much responsibility we should be taking for our own families and especially for ageing parents.
Yeah. And yet
I think it's a debate that's not going to go away.
A generation or two ago, it was what, 2 generations ago, it was normal, wasn't it?
And that's the argument, isn't it? That we've got out of that habit and we've got to the point where we expect the state to pick up the pieces
Whereas
for
in
us.
other countries, the elderly are more often not, they're kept within the family.
Yeah. That's so true. Moving on into the Telegraph. The weekend was the BAFTA TV Awards. It was held in the London Royal Festival Hall. And many, well, we were looking through them all, some amazing ones have won. Best Drama Series, Happy Valley and BBC One, Entertainment Performance, Michael McIntyre for The Big Show. One of the main ones which hit home for myself was the soap and continuing drama, which Emmerdale won. And that, I'm assuming, was more down to John Middleton, who played Ashley in the programme with regards to he had dementia. Oh. And that storyline was so poignant, and I think it related to so many people as well. And I think that's why, for the first time, they've actually won, which they deservedly did. They should have won it, to be honest with you.
Because Emmerdale's not usually up there in that category.
No.
It's obviously EastEnder or Corrie, isn't it?
Exactly.
So,
and I think that storyline's what it was. Yeah, definitely. And for BAFTA Fellowship, Joanna Lumley.
Yes.
And we have a lovely little clip as well to show them.
Let's have a little look.
Yeah.
Get someone to have lunch with. Of course I can get someone. I can always get someone. It's just that I haven't got someone. Go on. All right, you can come. 47.
I said
She's
them because it
wonderful.
has to be the two of them together, didn't it?
She's wonderful, isn't she?
Brilliant. Absolutely
I have to
brilliant.
say, it's a very good week for ladies of a certain vintage. I mean, there's Joanna Lumley, and then, of course, the French president's wife, isn't there? Brigitte Macron, looking very elegant at 64.
Oh, I know. I hope I look like that now.
Very, we've got so much to be proud about, haven't we, British telly?
Oh, definitely. And obviously, like you mentioned before, with Lucy as well, winning, well, not winning, bless her, but she came 15th, which is amazing for us.
In Eurovision now?
The Eurovision, yes, Lucy Jones. So it's
Why
not
is
just
15th good?
because normally we're too long.
because normally we're bottom.
No, that is really good. That's the saying it all for us. But also, what was stated, and it wasn't people from Wales that was stating this, was the fact that she kept in key, whereas a lot of people didn't. Through it's anxiety and that, but she did through a whole song. So that was nice to hear as well.
That's lovely. She's from Penterch, isn't she?
Yes,
in Cardiff.
yeah.
I heard her before the Eurovision, and she was saying that she works in theatre, and she just wants to be able to feel when she's greeting people that she did well.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Well, I think she did, yes.
Yeah.
Is it still relevant, the Eurovision Song Contest?
This
Well,
party's
clearly, what's
held.
anyone talking
I didn't know it was
to
on.
be
after.
hugely popular. Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's actually growing because people
it?
holding
Okay.
parties. I'm not one of those people, by the way, that attended or definitely held a party.
Well,
But yes, it
now
is.
that Australia are
Yeah.
regular contestants in the Eurovision, I'm not quite sure how that works, that would suggest this popularity is growing.
Okay.
I didn't realise that you went straight into certain levels of Eurovision. If you were a bigger country, we go into the higher echelon, don't we?
Right, okay.
Or some of the other countries come in at the bottom.
know
A bit like the United Nations, is that you have a sort of
Yeah.
a closed
There we go.
circle.
Well, will we still be in the Eurovision Song Contest when we
that's
leave
true,
Europe?
I know.
I'm sure if Australia are in it,
Yeah.
then
That's a good point.
post-Brexit Britain must be in it.
Has to be part of the Brexit negotiations, one way or the other.
Yeah, we never
Who
know.
wins?
Moving on, in the Daily Mirror, which happened on Friday, which was called the WannaCry, is the ransomware of the cyber attack. Now, this happened roughly around about 3 o'clock. We'd already left, otherwise we'd have spoken about it there and then. We have a video, first of all, just to go through exactly what the cyber attack is.
Because it's quite in-depth, isn't it, to
Yes.
understand it. Should we have a little look at the clip?
Definitely.
Here it is.
Coming for an operation on my kneecap, shattered knee, and got here at 6 o'clock for the op, and basically got told, sorry, ain't happening, got to go home, we'll let you know when we can.
It's just ridiculous.
Very worrying, isn't it?
I know.
It's another example, isn't it, of how global technology is changing the world. This is a crime that transcends borders, governments, and arguments of whether a country should be in or out of a particular union. It's transformative.
It's worrying enough for what's already happened, but you do worry about, other aspects, security,
Exactly.
airlines.
The question was asked at the weekend, are Britain's nuclear submarines secure from malicious software attacks? And we've been given the absolute guarantee, yes, they are.
Oh, I bet this was guaranteed before.
But of course, nobody say no, they're not. But it just shows the level, doesn't it? If you could inject this software into power stations,
Yeah.
airliners, yes.
Yeah, traffic light controls, loads of things.
Yes. Yeah.
It came through this morning as well that Vladimir Putin has now blamed the US for the global cyber attack because what he's saying is they originally created the Microsoft hack.
Yeah.
So this is basically now what's happened because of it.
Yeah, the NSA in the States, allegedly with the help of GCHQ and British spy masters were also involved in creating this. Yeah, it's a little bit like sort of saying that somebody who invents the motor car is responsible for all road accidents, isn't it?
But I thought some young man had come through and fixed it all.
Yes, no, I was going to say you mentioned
Cyber hero.
GCHQ. He now,
Langley,
it's not concrete that he's actually working for them, but I think they've obviously asked him to, because this young 22-year-old assault, Marcus Hitchens, he was the one who actually managed to kill the switch. So he stopped it, but obviously now with Monday, this happened on Friday, with everybody else now going back and using their technology within the NHS, whatever they are, even down to Renault. They have shut one of the largest factories now in France, all due to this. It could escalate again because we'd all
people missed procedures, didn't they?
Yeah.
Operations and things, yeah. So it's very serious.
Yeah.
OK.
A strange world we live in.
I know.
Thank you both. Next, we're going to be keeping Spencer with us, and Keith Milward will be coming to join us. We're going to be talking films on Bay TV and also films in the cinema at the moment.
We look forward to that. See you then.
Welcome back to Today on Bay TV. I'm Henry W. Cook. This is Gaynor Morgan. Spencer's still with us, and Keith Milward has come to join us.
And we're talking films. Spencer, you went to see Miss Sloane?
Miss Sloane, yes. Jessica Chastain plays the title role, a Washington, D.C. lobbyist who angers her boss by turning down a job for a pro-gun group and instead joins a firm backing a proposed law to restrict gun sales. Shall we have a look at a clip?
Yeah, let's have a little look.
What's going on with you?
The current system is so porous it floats.
I don't remember you caring ever, one way or another, about guns.
My position solidified somewhere between Columbine and Charleston. Come on, George. Any head case, felon, or terrorist can buy an assault rifle from a gun show, the internet, or his buddy at the Bowl-O-Rama without so much as an ID. Heaton Harris puts a stop to that.
Christ, Liz, this is the gun lobby. Do you have any idea how long I've been trying to reel them in? No. Something happened. Someone you know was the victim of a gun crime.
Nonsense. I work on behalf of causes I believe in. That's how I sleep at night.
You don't sleep at night. You sit and obsess about winning, no matter the cause.
Looks very good.
Well, it's called Miss Sloane for a reason. This film has a total focus on the one main character who is driven, ruthless, successful, unlikable, totally unlovable. So there's a huge weight on Chastain's shoulders here to carry this film, and she delivers it with a fantastic performance. People who are fans of TV shows like The Good Wife or The West Wing will identify and feel very familiar with this. What you saw there is quite typical of the film. It's rich in dialogue. There's a lot of this, a lot of these scenes, people in offices arguing where the politics and the law interact. So if you like those TV shows, you feel totally at home with this. But those TV shows come to us in 1 hour episodes. This film is 2.25 hours long.
That's exhausting.
And yes, you will. There are times you will feel a bit like that. And I will admit, after about 1.25 hours, I was thinking I wouldn't mind a commercial break now, because it is there's a lot going on, and it's that intensity all the way through. So the film is good. It would have been even better if it had been at least 30 minutes shorter. And I think this is an issue with a lot of films now. So many films seem to be 2.25, even 2.5 hours. For me, it's simply too much. Whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy, which is 2.5 hours, blockbuster, or whether it's a film like this, which is intense, dialogue-driven, sometimes I think less can be more. And this is a case in particular.
Now, you say it was good. Was it entertaining?
For somebody like me, who is interested in politics and the law and the media and how these things work, and newsrooms and people arguing in offices, yes, I was entertained. But yes, there were times where I felt my attention is beginning to slip here. And if only it had been that 30 minutes shorter, I would be saying this is a great film. I'm not saying that. I still say it's a 3-star good film. And it has some wonderful, gripping moments. There are a couple of moments, and I won't give it away, but if you go and see it, there are a couple of moments where you will just grasp the hand of that person next to you and just think, I did not see that coming. You know, there are some real coups there.
I think having worked in a lot of newsrooms, I might give it a miss.
But you do have to work your way through it, you know? Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about Jessica Chastain's performance? I was going to describe her as up and coming, but I think she's very much arrived.
Oh, I think she's very
Zero
much
Dark
arrived.
30, amazing.
Zero Dark 30 was the breakthrough film for her.
Interstellar as well.
But recently, she's been carving out a place for herself in sci-fi. Interstellar and The Martian.
Yeah.
Very big in The Martian. So I think she's well established. Thing with her is she's a very, very private person. A bit like the character she's playing in this film. You'd never, in Miss Sloane, you'd never get to know the character's backstory. And it's a bit like that in her private life as well. She's an intensely private person.
That's interesting.
Oscar buzz yet, or is it too early?
It's Oscar nomination worthy, I think, yes. Yeah. But it's very early, and there is this problem. But yeah, it's probably the first big performance of the new season. So if you like Jessica Chastain, if you're interested in politics, if you're interested in the way these things, our governments work, I would recommend it. If you don't fancy sitting through 2.25 hours, get it on DVD when it comes out. You can have your own commercial break.
Go on then. What's the rating then?
I'd give it 3 stars. Yeah. If it had been 30 minutes shorter, I would say 4 or even 5.
Very interesting.
Especially just for her performance. I think it's a great performance.
Thanks, Spencer. Keith, we've got some great films coming up on Bay TV this week.
A lot lighter films than what we've been hearing. Yes, the matinees, especially this afternoon, it's Treasure Hunt, and this sounds great fun. Jimmy Edwards, and there was many of us remember him from things like Big Bad Mouse on the Stage. It did come to the Grand Theatre, and of course he often was with Eric Sykes. And but in this film, it's about Sir Roderick Lyle. They're reading his will, and their family find out they broke. Yes. But there's no elderly aunt has lost her jewels, so we've got to find out whether it all works out in the end.
I think we've got a clip. Shall we have a little look?
Please.
Here it is.
Coming to Talking Pictures TV from the Romulus Library. Treasure Hunt.
Now, Aunt Anna Rose, hunt the thimble.
Hot butter beans and bacon, what a lark.
Now, you must tell us when we're getting warmer.
Your blood pressure's too high, your liver's too sluggish, and if you don't give up this riotous living, I give you 1 year.
Get out! What puzzles me is why you ever came here.
Actually, for food, rest, warmth, and we hoped a little civilized society.
Today on Talk.
So that's on straight after
yes,
this.
That's the great actress Athene Saylor there. She lived till 101.
Wow.
So yeah. And
it's like a refuge from a wild world, isn't it?
And then on Wednesday there's a popular one. It's been on before, but in case you've missed it, it's Too Many Crooks with Terry Thomas and Sid James, George Cole, and successful gang robbing goes. The robbery goes wrong. Should we say?
Everyone is a fan of this at Bay TV. We love it when it's on. Should we have a little look at the clip?
Oh, it's there. Great.
Here it is.
Good morning. I represent... No, you don't, Scarborough.
Too Many Crooks, starring the greatest comedy cast ever. Terry Thomas as William Delaney Gordon, a financier with more money than he dares to tell the taxman.
Do you mind?
George Cole as the ruthlessly inefficient leader of a gang of crooks who muddle their way from one riotous robbery to the next.
Look, the safe, it's open. Whoops. Now I'll have to crack it. Give me some light. Lights, gentlemen, is that better? Don't move. I've got you covered.
I think it's hard to not like anything that Sid James
It's like a finishing school for English comic actors, isn't it?
Brilliant fun. That's Wednesday afternoon. We're going to be talking about the late Edwina Black in a minute. But before we finish the afternoons, there's Thursday's The Man in the Moon, and it's scientists looking for a perfect man to send to the moon. Oh. And that's Kenneth Moore, Shirley Ann Field and Michael Hordern. But yes, the one for me this week, The Late Edwina Black. I've never seen the play. It's sometimes been put on, but I've missed it. But this is the film version, so it's on at 7:35 in the evening. 1951 film, The Late Edwina Black, with Geraldine Fitzgerald, David Farrar, and it's about a sickly Victorian lady who dies.
Let's have a look at the clip.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Coming to Talking Pictures TV from the Romulus Library. The Late Edwina Black.
And who are you?
I've called to see Mr. Black, ma'am.
What is it, Ellen?
You Mr. Black, sir?
Yes, but I've no time just now.
I'm from Scotland Yard, sir, Inspector Martin. Your wife dies suddenly. A postmortem's carried out, which shows the body to contain a fatal dose of arsenic.
What is it you want to know, Inspector?
I want my questions answered truthfully.
I did not.
You're quite sure, miss?
Well, if she says so, of course she is.
Coming soon on Talking Pictures TV. Sky 343, Freeview 81, UView 81, and FreeSat 306.
So yes, they're wonderful costume, aren't they? Yes, and the late Edwina Black, well, the lady dies, but the post-mortem shows arsenic. So it's a murder mystery, the costume drama, all that. But so it's
something for everyone.
List. There is, yes. So it just shows that there's comedy and there's drama and thrilling films on BTV.
We've got a jam-packed week of stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be great, isn't it? Yeah.
What could you want?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, after the break, we have Dan Bowsher, the Welsh Conservative prospective Member of Parliament for Swansea East, and Spencer staying with us too. So, look forward.
Welcome back to your final part today on Bay TV. I'm Henry W. Cook and this is Gaynor Morgan.
And Dan Boucher, Welsh Conservative Prospective Member of Parliament for Swansea East, has joined us. Thank you very much. And Spencer Feeney has remained with us. So, busy time.
It certainly is, yes. One election into another. Just done the local elections and now straight into the general, but a very important election, obviously. The government that results will have the responsibility of negotiating Brexit, which is going to, the terms of it, will shape all of our lives for many, many, many years to come, way beyond the next Parliament. So it is a particularly important Parliament. And obviously our message at this election is that we think Theresa May is the best person to do that, to negotiate those deals with the presidents and prime ministers of the European Union to get the best deal for Swansea East, for Wales and for the United Kingdom.
Now, you're saying that Brexit is the most important aspect, but is that what people on the streets are really talking about? Or is that the issue that's affecting them the most?
Yeah, I'd say it was the biggest issue, the thing people are most concerned about. Obviously, I think Swansea East, Swansea as a whole voted for Brexit. I think that the support for Brexit is particularly concentrated within the Swansea East constituency. And I stood in the local elections within the constituency as well. And so I've been having conversations with people on the doorstep for a number of weeks now. And it has come up as a real area of concern, wanting to get the very best deal for Britain. Obviously, one of the big opportunities that we face is that when we leave, we will have the freedom to negotiate our own trade deals with other countries in the world. And I guess Swansea East is really the place where Copperopolis really happened. Swansea's identity very much formed by that. It was a global trading operation, not a global trading operation which just focused in Europe. And I think that the opportunities for global trade and for negotiating trade deals with America and with South Korea and other places like that is exciting, as it has the prospect of bringing in more jobs for
Spencer,
places
is
like
that the
Swansea.
feeling you get about Swansea these days?
Well, I think this is an interesting election. It's quite different, I think, because you have this relentless focus on the Conservative side on Brexit and on Theresa May's strong and stable leadership. But as on the Labour side, of course, you've got to focus away from their leader and trying to pick up on to broaden the debate away from Brexit, because that has its own problems for the Labour Party, clearly. Moving away from Brexit, what would you say would be the two most important policies that you would be supporting that would make Swansea East a pretty solid Labour majority seat move towards the Conservatives?
I think the two things I'm particularly excited about are the City deal, which obviously Theresa May came to Swansea East. She signed the City deal in the Liberty Stadium on the 20th of March, which is going to be worth £1.3 billion over the next 15 years.
But it was achieved by the Labour administration in Swansea, wasn't it?
Well, that I think is, with respect, I think that's Labour's spin. The City deal is a policy which was developed, if we want to be really fair, by the coalition government in 2011, to give the Lib Dems credit. It's an economic regeneration policy which involves giving more powers to local areas. The latest one has come to Swansea, and the way that it works is it involves the lower tiers of government, local government, and in the case of Wales, the Welsh government, also participating in that. So it's not something which is entirely cooked up, as it were, centrally. By definition, it must involve local authorities. But I think the point is that we wouldn't have a City deal if it wasn't for the fact that Westminster government had devised the concept of the City deal. And if Alan Cairns, of course, comes from Clydach originally, the next day after he was made Secretary of State for Wales, he came to Swansea and said, I want Swansea to have a City deal. So I'm not denying the fact that the Swansea local authority and the local authorities in Pembrokeshire and in Carmarthenshire and in Neath, which make up the region, they all had a role to play. But the point that I'm making is that this is a policy that actually came from Westminster originally, and if Theresa May hadn't come to Swansea East to sign it at the Liberty Stadium on the 20th of March, we wouldn't have a City deal.
Do you expect to hoover up UKIP votes?
Well, I voted for Brexit myself, and I campaigned for Brexit, actually. And wrote articles making the case for Brexit. So certainly I'm finding on the doorstep, when I'm talking to people in Swansea East, who are overwhelmingly, in my experience, supporters of Brexit, that they like the fact that That is my conviction, and I'm not a reluctant sort of convert to Brexit, but I actually fought for it.
Do you expect the UKIP vote then in Swansea East to collapse?
Well, the other interesting thing about UKIP is that their UKIP candidate on the nomination form has an undisclosed address in Carmarthen East, so they're not local. So I think for both those reasons, the fact that I'm a committed Brexiteer and the fact that I actually live in Morriston, in the heart of the constituency, yes, I hope that it will result in UKIP votes coming my way.
If there is a Conservative government, when can we expect the tidal lagoon to get the go-ahead? And when can we expect the line to Swansea to be fully electrified?
Well, you're asking questions that are rather above my pay grade. I think that in terms of... Speculate. I think that in terms of the lagoon, I think clearly the Henry review, which the government commissioned asking is this good value for money, came back and said, yes, it is. And my expectation and the sense that I'm getting is that that's going to come fairly soon. But I don't know that for sure. But I'm obviously encouraged by the Henry Review. I believe passionately in the tidal lagoon. I'm co-director, among other things, of the Wales Career Connection. The biggest tidal power plant in the world is at a place called Siwa in South Korea. And one of the things that I've been involved in doing is trying to generate connections between Wales and Siwa in order to help us sort of benefit from that connection. So I'm particularly passionate. I think that the lagoon would completely transform Swansea and be like a kind of a copper, as it were, for the 21st century. But no, it's not my decision. Obviously, it's the government's decision, and I hope that I think my sense is that it's going to come reasonably soon. But I don't know. I don't have any inside information.
Now, you work in public affairs in the charity sector, and that takes you obviously to Westminster and to Stormont and everywhere. Are you concerned at all about the future for the devolved nations and indeed for the state of the Union if we have a hard Brexit?
Well, I think actually that... by the way, I don't really buy into this idea of hard Brexit or soft Brexit. I think there's just one thing, Brexit. I think the argument that we should have this thing called soft Brexit and stay a member of the single market doesn't make any sense to me at all. I think that's the worst. It's the worst outcome possible because it would almost be better to stay in the European Union on that basis, because if you're a member of the single market, you're subject to its rules, but if you leave, you don't have any power to shape them. I think there is a real benefit in leaving and seeking tariff-free access to the single market, and that is obviously the policy that we're pursuing.
But you haven't answered my question about the future of the devolved nations.
Oh, sorry. Yes, well, I think that it will result in more powers. If you look at the government's Brexit white paper, they're very, very clear that Brexit will result, obviously, in competences being returned to the United Kingdom. And we're very clear that some of those competences are going to be returned to central government, and some of those competences are going to be returning to devolved government. And so, as a result of Brexit, all tiers of UK government, including the Welsh government, are going to find themselves with more powers and more responsibility.
And will we remain a United Kingdom?
Well, I very much hope so. I don't think there's any threat to the United Kingdom in terms of Wales and the rest of the United Kingdom. Clearly, there are questions in relationship to Scotland, but it's been very interesting to see the way the polls are moving in Scotland at the moment, and one doesn't get the sense that there is a growing appetite for independence in Scotland, and there is, in fact, a sense that Nicola Sturgeon has miscalculated in pushing for this second referendum so soon after the last one. So I hope very much that the Union will be sustained. Obviously, I believe very much in it. I think it's good for the constituent parts of the United Kingdom. But I guess time will tell.
Theresa May last week, obviously the big talking point in the papers was fox hunting, and she's pro fox hunting. Mm-hmm. Where do your kind of thoughts lie there? Are you with the leader?
Well, I think I would be right in saying that probably would be a free vote issue. I'm not a big fan of fox hunting, I have to say. So it's not something that I would sort of line up particularly to champion, and it's certainly not on the top of my priority list.
We've got to say, obviously, that there's other people that can be voted for in your constituency, so we're just going to show now the slate for who else can be voted for in Swansea East.
I think we've got Gower there, Swansea East. Who else? Swansea East.
So I'd like to thank all our guests today and all our viewers for watching us, especially those who've tuned in for our Talking Pictures afternoon matinee coming up next on Bay.
And we look forward to that.